Hey, thanks for tuning in. This is me at 1:06 a.m. coming to you live. Not really, I'm not really live. This is coming out on Wednesday and today's Monday. So this is a little bit of a cozy reading vlog. So you're gonna see me going about my life and also talking about books. So if you like that kind of thing, go ahead and tune in. Tune in. And hit the bell notification because I'm gonna start releasing videos almost every Wednesday at 4 p.m. I think Mishka and I are gonna go get some ice cream. I look like a bug with these glasses on. It's kind of crazy. Hair's getting really long. It's kind of fire, actually. Kind of fuck with it. It's a beautiful rainy day out, and I am on page 296 of A Teller of Small Fortunes. I have like maybe 20 pages of this book left. So I finished The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong, and I absolutely love this book. I think I liked it even more than I liked Legends and Lattes. So I'm like, should I still give Legends and Lattes 5 stars? Maybe I gave Legends and Lattes 4.5 stars or something. That feels more right to me. This book was just really funny. I think I laughed out loud at it multiple times. There were like several subplots that were going on that really kept things interesting and kind of fresh. And there was a lot of like relational drama without any romantic relationships really developing. Which I actually thought was really refreshing. Like, I feel like oftentimes in books, there's the main point of tension is like the love interest, or at least it's like a subplot. And there were times where I thought the main character might be falling in love with another character, but it was like, I don't think that's gonna happen. So when it didn't happen, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I dog-eared some of the pages because there's themes in here that I wanted to read about, or like quotes, things that made me laugh. Tao, I think her name is our main character, and she is a traveler, and she always travels alone, and she winds up stumbling upon a couple of people during her travels that she continues to travel with and calls friends. But before that, she was very content being alone with her mule. And she goes from town to town reading people's palms and reading tea leaves to make money, but she's also one of the only Shin people in the country that she is inhabiting. I think it's called like Wisteria or something. So she's one of the only Chinese people basically in a European Western kind of world. So some people are like really enamored by that, but she also can't stay in towns too long. Sometimes innkeepers won't let her stay at the inn without giving her trouble first. So there is a little bit of that dynamic in there. You know, that would probably be the way people would receive her. I liked that it still managed to touch on themes of racism and why it's wrong and all of those things, and create conflict there without making the entire book really serious and difficult to read, because it's just so sad. So it's very balanced in that way while still making you think. And I'm just gonna read you some of the lines that I thought were really funny. This wasn't funny, but I thought it was kind of beautiful. The tavern door swung open as a small group of townsmen went inside, and a burst of laughter and cheerful noise came from within. Something within her ached at the sound, and the ache was almost like hunger, an odd, familiar longing for some place she had never been, for something she did not know. Then the tavern door slammed shut, and the sound of merriment was muffled once more. I thought that was like a really beautiful way to describe that feeling. Okay, so this was one of the things that made me laugh out loud. Truthfully, after her encounter with the witch, Tao rather wanted to be done with fortune-telling for the day, but it was hard to refuse the apprentice baker. Well, I tell small fortunes only, but yes, sometimes they can be quite clear. I can't guarantee what I'll see for you, of course, but I'd be happy to try for a penny. And so she gestured Kina inside her tent and the baker following. As Tao arranged herself on the other side of the table, Kina seated herself, slid a coin across the table, and looked around the small tent with slight apprehension. Tao tried to look wise and smile reassuringly at the same time, but possibly succeed only in seeming mildly constipated. She gave up on the wise part. I thought that was hilarious. Okay, so this is a little quote in here about traveling that I thought was really good. Kina looked down, still troubled. I suppose not, but I wish I could do more to help. And I don't really feel any different, just less ignorant of the world around me, I suppose. I'm still the same person, more or less. I thought that perhaps leaving Shelport would change me in some meaningful way. I think you have changed, said Tao, in enough small ways that you just don't quite notice it while it's happening. But then you look in the mirror one day and you're altogether different. That's how it was for me, anyway. I think this book is like really beautifully written. It's very descriptive. It's very heartwarming. It's very funny. It still manages to explore some serious themes. The characters are really well fleshed out and are kind of just to die for. Like, if anything was going to happen to one of them, I would be very upset. Which I feel like a lot of books that I've read lately that have come out and been like TikTok sensations or whatever are just really lacking in. Like, there's usually just a plethora of characters, and I don't care about any of them, like, not even the main character sometimes. I'm referencing Fourth Wing, by the way. I hated that book. It was so bad. But this book is very good, and I definitely recommend you read it. I've never heard of it before. I picked it up and saw it on Goodreads. If you're interested, go to your local bookstore and get The Teller of Small Fortunes if you want to laugh and have a good time. Okay, so I also just finished Ninetails today. So that's 2 books in one day that I finished. Mind you, I have been reading both of these for quite some time now, but I'm trying to finish 4 books by the end of next month, which shouldn't be a problem. It's hard to formulate my thoughts about this book because it's a series of short stories, some of which I wouldn't say were duds, but they didn't really do anything for me. Some of them were not very memorable. Some of them were kind of similar to each other, but I did learn things. I did enjoy it. There were definitely some times where I was absolutely hooked on this book, and then there were some times where I felt like I needed to put it down for my sanity, and then there were other times where I could have taken or left some of the stories. There are definitely some quotes in here that I highlighted that I really liked. I thought that the author is very good at writing, especially about feelings. She's very good at creating an atmosphere, but a lot of the atmosphere in all of these stories felt very similar. Once I got used to the way that this was laid out, it was easy to read, and I actually quite enjoyed it. So, I mean, if I was going to give this a real rating, it would probably be like 3.6 stars or something. Would I read it again? I might read it again. Sometimes when you read something more than once, you learn to appreciate it more. Like, sometimes when you read something the first time, you don't really get it. It's kind of like listening to a song. Like, there's a lot of times where albums come out and I listen to it the first time and I'm like, I hated that. And then I listen to it, 3 more times and I'm like, actually, this is a banger and I can't believe I was gonna sleep on this. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. If this is a subject that interests you, it's worth reading. Like, the idea of women who turn into foxes is very interesting. Not every single story is about that, but this is very sad. So if you're not in a good headspace, this might not be a good one to pick up. It was hard for me to read for a little while because I also read Take My Hand, and it just felt like there was too much heaviness. Now that I've read this, I'm supposed to read Beloved by Toni Morrison now because it is one of the books on Goodreads that is part of this month's challenge. And I'm like, ooh, can I read Beloved after reading this? Or am I gonna sink into an abyss if I do that.
I kind of want to read another fun fantasy book, but I feel like I got Beloved. I really want to read it. It's been on my shelf for a couple of months. I should read it. But I don't know if I'm going to survive, so wish me luck. It's like I might as well just read The Color Purple after that. Let me see, there's something that I highlighted. The context is somebody's getting led on here. Like a woman is crushing on a man, and she has just admitted to him that she has a crush on him. "Oh no, you didn't lead me anywhere. I'm sorry for bringing this up," said Morgan. "It's good to clear, the air around this. No pun intended. I just felt a connection with you. Like every time I saw you, I felt tender." Her eyes wandered. The more she was rejected, the more she exposed herself. Her insides ripped open for the pecking, a habit that she'd hated since childhood. I just thought that was beautiful. Like, you see what I mean when I'm saying that she's like very good at writing about feelings? Like, that is how that feels. Okay, so then this is the next page. How desperately she wished she lived in a world where the desire for love didn't have to be so humiliating. Fire. That is fire. I'm trying to decide if I want to start Beloved right now, because this book is kind of a hard hitter. And I'm like, do I want to start another book about racism right now after reading this book about racism and immigration and all of these things? It's a big yawn. That was a big yawn. Oh my God. Another big yawn. That's crazy.
I did decide to start reading Beloved, even though it sounds absolutely heartbreaking, and I just finished reading another book that was absolutely heartbreaking. I'm just going to keep going because I've been taking a vacation, reading all of these cozy fantasy books. This is a real tearjerker. And it is about slavery, and it is about an enslaved woman losing her child and naming it Beloved. So that sounds incredibly sad, and I'm hoping that it's not going to make me spiral, but I am going to read it. I've always wanted to read this book. I've always also wanted to read The Bluest Eye, and I would like to own all of Toni Morrison's books. I know that they're banned in some places, so this is going to be a good one. The other thing I wanted to update you on is I am 60 pages into Sex at Dawn, and I am kind of eating it. I kind of love it. I like it when things about psychology and human behavior are just spelled out for me, even though I live it every day and I know that it exists. Sometimes it's nice when something just really smacks you in the face, and then you're like, oh, I had an epiphany because, yeah, I live that every day. So that's how it's going. I'm going to start reading Beloved, but right now I'm going to go out day drinking with my friend Hunter. I am 63 pages into this book, and Beloved by Toni Morrison is way crazier than I thought it was going to be. Really surprised at the writing style and the content of the book. I was just expecting this to be a very plain and simple historical fiction, but it is kind of surreal. The house that they live in is haunted, which I really wasn't expecting at all. This is very surreal. It's very poetic. It's very visually stimulating if you have a good imagination. There's things that happen in this book that are incredibly shocking right off the bat. Obviously, there's trigger warnings. In this book, they would just say crazy things plain and simple, it was nothing. I guess it just kind of illustrates how hard their life was before even this is happening, because it's if those things didn't even faze them, what would? Yeah, and it is just super, super intriguing. I thought that reading this book was going to be really hard to do because I thought it was just going to be massively devastating, but it's approaching this topic in a very creative and interesting way. Please stop, Mochi.
You son of a bitch!
There's this little guy on my bird feeder, and I'm worried about him. Doesn't seem to be in good health, so I ran out of wild bird food, a while ago. So I'm going to get some right now. So hopefully if our little friend comes back, he has enough food. Yeah, I've been feeding the birds here since I moved in, and I've really been slacking. I haven't really been feeling good. I tend to go in and out of like feeling good and feeling bad, and I got food specifically for this cardinal. It's called cardinal food. It's like Cardinal Supreme or something crazy. So if he doesn't show up, I'm gonna be offended. This book looks small. It's very deceiving. I'm on page 235, and there's about 311 pages in this book. I wanted to drop in and talk a little bit about this book because it has been a really crazy experience reading this. I have never picked up a book that has surprised me so much in the way that this one has. The back of the book kind of tells you exactly what this is about. But when you start reading it, you're like the writing style is very poetic, but it's also very matter of fact. And it creates like this weird tension and this like underlying uncomfortability in like everything that you read. And some of these like really traumatic and awful experiences are stated like so plainly that it like almost completely takes the emotion out of them. It kind of feels like none of these characters are really feeling anything, which might be exactly what she intended. You can't really like cry with them or laugh with them or anything, because even though you get the interior, like some of the interior world of these characters, you're very much still on the outside. It's like if Toni Morrison, and I haven't read any of her other books, so I don't know, but if that was her intention with this writing style, then it is very good. And I do believe, you know, in my own personal experience, that trauma really does make you feel that way, where you're like outside of your body. You can't really fully connect with anybody unless it's about trauma, until it's resolved, of course. Dichotomy of being a slave, but also being on a plantation called Sweet Home. Basically, the plantation Sweet Home is kind of an outlier where the slaves are like treated somewhat well. They're not forced to breed. They're not really yelled at, but like one of the things that the characters say in here is they're like, they don't yell at us, but they say all of the same things. It's kind of like being in a padded cell rather than being in like a cinder block prison, is kind of the best way I can describe it. And even though Sweet Home is a somewhat comfortable situation, obviously these people are still enslaved and they don't have freedom. So they still try to leave. There's a lot of like distrust. There's a lot of like kind of deep family bonds that don't feel super deep because it's essentially because of slavery. Like a lot of people being sold out of their families and people kind of like trying to piece back together a semblance of community and family, and obviously struggling to do so. This book is just really incredible and really easy to talk about for a long time. And I would definitely recommend anyone who likes historical fiction to read this, or to at least be exposed to some of Toni Morrison's work. I think it's really impactful and important. So if you're interested, go ahead and pick up Beloved by Toni Morrison. And I am going to finish reading this book now. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope you pick up a copy of
Beloved by Toni Morrison, because dang, that book is good. And I also can't say enough about the Fortune Teller book. That one was also really good. Like and subscribe if you will, and share with a friend if you have friends who like books. Okay. Bye.